Hi, you're watching Cooking with Diane. I'm Diane, and today we're going to be making a shrimp and vegetable stir fry. Stir fry is a go-to weeknight dish for me because it's a great way to get a lot of vegetables into your life in a way that's really tasty. It comes together really quickly. You don't have to turn on the oven, and you can kind of use whatever you have. I'm using shrimp and certain vegetables today, but sometimes I make it with tofu. Sometimes I'll make it with chicken. I'll change up the vegetables. It's very versatile. The first thing I'm going to do to prep my stir fry is actually get the rice cooking. I'm choosing to serve my stir fry over brown rice today. Brown rice takes about 30 to 40 minutes to cook, so it's a good idea to get that going first before I even start on the vegetables. This is short grain brown rice. I'm going to measure 1 cup of rice. I want to make sure that my cup measure is filled all the way to the top and that the rice is even with the top of it. To 2 cups water. And this will make me about 3 to 3.5 cups of cooked brown rice. I always put in a pinch of salt. Some people like to wash their rice before they cook it. I never really bother with that, and I don't find it makes much of a difference for me. I'm going to cover the pot with a lid, put it on the stove on high heat. When it comes to a boil, I'll turn it to low heat, and it'll just simmer in the background while I'm cooking. I don't have to do anything else with it. Now I can start chopping my vegetables. When you're making stir fry, the vegetables are cut very thinly so that they cook really quickly. So it's really important that you cut everything you need in advance because the cooking time is very short. So I'm just going to cut one type of vegetable at a time, and each vegetable I'm going to try to cut in long, thin pieces. So the first thing I'm going to cut is my onion. This is just half of an onion. It's already been peeled. The center is coming out a little bit. I'm just going to place the flat side down on my board and cut thin slices with the line of the onion. And you just want to make sure that your slices all separate into separate little onion pieces, that there isn't one big hunk of onion anywhere. With my carrots, I'm going to peel them first, cut off the very tips of the tops and bottom. Then with each carrot, I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise so that I have 2 halves I can put flat side down, and cut each half of a carrot on a diagonal. So that I have these thin diagonal slices of carrot. The best way to cut this is to take off the top and bottom, cut through the side, and just cut out all the seeds. And now with the pepper that's left, I'm just going to cut thin slices. And you can cut slices with the top and bottom too. They're just going to be a little bit less straight. Next, I have some shiitake mushrooms. I'm just going to slice off all of the stems and then slice the caps into thin slices. Next, I have some scallions. They've seen better days, so I'm just going to take off any really wilted looking leaves. And with the fresh looking parts, I'm just going to turn them so that I can cut diagonal slices out of them. And again, just as thin as I can get them. I'm going to keep the scallions in a separate bowl because they're really more of a garnish. For my last vegetable, I have snow peas, not to be confused with snap peas. Snow peas are the very flat type of green bean looking thing. If you see any really big stems or wilted looking edges, you can cut those off. But generally the whole thing is edible and you can just throw a whole snow pea into your stir fry. For my protein today, I'm using shrimp. You could keep your stir fry completely all veggies. You could put tofu in it instead of shrimp. You could add chicken, steak, pork, really whatever you like. If you're using frozen, already shelled shrimp, all you have to do with it is make sure that it's thawed before you cook it. I'm using fresh, unshelled shrimp, so I do need to shell it. To shell shrimp, you just want to make sure that it's completely thawed. You can grab the legs and just peel around the shrimp. And when you get to the tail, just give it a very, very gentle tug. Once you've shelled all the shrimp, it's a good idea to devein them. So I only do this from the top. So you find the top of the shrimp and take a paring knife, cut a little slit all the way down. And if you open it up, you might see a little line of what looks like dirt. You want to pull that out. See that? That's the vein. That's actually the poop line of the shrimp. So it's not going to hurt you to eat it, but it's not very pleasant either. So that's our prep work done. But again, because this cooks so quickly, I want to double check that I really have everything ready to go and within reach before I start cooking. So I have all of the veggies I chopped, and each vegetable is in its own pile because I'm actually going to cook them separately. I have my peeled and deveined shrimp. I have my scallions for garnish. And I have my sauce. I'm just going to use a bottled teriyaki sauce from the grocery store today. If you want to make your own teriyaki sauce, there are some really great simple recipes out there. Just make sure that you have it totally whisked up and ready to go before you start cooking. For equipment, I'm going to be using a pounded cast iron skillet with pretty high sides. If you have a wok, this is a really great time to use that. I'm also going to have a bamboo spatula. A regular spatula does fine. A rubber spatula does fine. Just something to move around the vegetables while they're cooking. I always want to have some salt within reach. And I'm going to be using canola oil. You can use any other sort of high heat oil. I wouldn't recommend olive oil for this. It's the wrong flavor and it'll start smoking. If you have toasted sesame oil, that's a nice thing to add as well because it'll add great flavor. I have a clean empty bowl to put each vegetable in as it is cooked. So here we go. On the back burner here, my rice is still cooking. And I'm going to start preheating my skillet over very high heat. Once my skillet is super hot, I'm going to add just a little bit of oil and swirl that around so it coats the bottom evenly. You don't need a lot for this. And I always add the protein first while the skillet's still clean so that it doesn't stick. So I'm going to just put all of my shrimp on the hot skillet, even it out into an even layer so every shrimp is touching the pan. And you really don't want to overcook shrimp. So just cook it 1 minute per side or so, or until each side is pink and opaque. You might see it start curling up more tightly as it cooks as well. When your pan's this hot, everything cooks really fast. Once my shrimp is done, I'm going to move it to the bowl and set it aside for now so that my pan is free for the next thing. Now I'm just going to cook each vegetable at a time, and it should only take 2 to 3 minutes per vegetable. I'm going to add a little bit more oil each time to the pan. And it might start getting really smoky. That's okay as long as it doesn't smell really bad. But make sure you have good ventilation in your kitchen. I'm going to do the onion next. With a little sprinkle of salt. And the reason this is called stir fry is because you want to stir the vegetable the whole time it's cooking. The pan's really hot and the vegetable's really thin, so stirring it will enable it to cook evenly, but still be kind of crunchy and fresh tasting when it's done. And your onion is done when it starts looking a little bit wilted. So see how it's got a little bit of bend in it now? And a little bit of color? That's done. We don't want it so done that it's mushy. So that'll go in the same bowl with the shrimp. A little bit more oil. And on to the next vegetable. It doesn't really matter what order you do the vegetables in, as long as you do them all separately. And snow peas cook really quickly. Once you hear them popping and they've browned on both sides, they're done. So now with your sauce, generally teriyaki sauce has either cornstarch or some kind of sugar or both, and that's what's going to make it thicken around your vegetables. So we actually want to activate that thickener by cooking the sauce on its own. So just put in enough to coat the bottom. Let it get a little bit bubbly. Don't cook it so long that it starts to burn. Just to warm it up. And then put in all of those yummy cooked veggies and shrimp. And you're going to cook this all together to toss the vegetables with the sauce. You don't need a lot of sauce, just enough to coat everything. My pan's kind of full, so I'm just gently folding from the bottom over top of the vegetables so I don't lose too much. Now we just need to wait for my rice to finish cooking. So I can tell my brown rice is finished because there's no longer any water in the bottom of the pan. If you're not sure, you can also taste a little bit. If it doesn't taste done to you and there's no water left to boil it with, just put the lid on and let it steam for a couple minutes so that the rice can finish cooking with the steam. And now to plate, I like to put the rice on the bottom. You can always mold it if you're feeling fancy with an oiled cup container. And then we're going to put some stir fry on top, and you just want to make sure you get a little bit of everything in there. I got a little bit of shrimp, got lots of veggies. And I love to garnish it with scallions. Sesame seeds and cilantro are also lovely to garnish it with. And that is my easy, versatile weeknight stir fry. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.